Hey, Sean.
Hello, Jeremy. I'll, for the most part, leave my video off just to save bandwidth, but if there's any questions, I'm around.
Yeah, no worries. I think obviously I hope number one goes pretty smooth. And then number two, I don't know if you want to talk about any money, monetary value or not, or if you want to leave that out.
If there's questions, it's a guess.
Okay. And then for number three, I mean, I don't need you. I was just going to say, hey, here's a quick update. I think you or maybe Strand sent out a quick update a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple days ago.
Probably Strand did. And yeah, if there's some questions, if I don't know, I'll try to find the answer.
Okay. But after 1, 2, and 3, go enjoy your Christmas.
Or till tomorrow evening's meetings.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right.
I got to be on that.
Council meeting. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, finance and council.
Right.
So
Shoot, I forgot about that.
I'll sit in the background, but I'm here if you need me. Oh,
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
and I'll say hi to Dennis. I'll say hi to Dennis. It's been forever.
Yeah.
Oh, and Tom too, I see, is here.
Yep,
How
Tom
about
Scott. Yep. And then I don't think Janet Lord's coming, guys, just FYI.
I think she emailed that she wasn't coming. Yeah,
Correct.
she's got a house full of guests.
Okay, got it.
Sean Stosky.
Hi,
Hey,
good evening.
Tom.
Julie Hansen's on.
Julie Hansen. Hansen, S-O-N, I believe. Hansen.
Yes.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Mark. BOHM. Who else do we have? We have Dennis. Tom. Okay, so we just need one more committee member. Dennis, Tom, Carl, yep. And then we have Mark, Sean, and Julie. Okay, good. Sweet. Oh, Mark Sullivan, perfect.
Do we know of anybody who's not showing up other than Janet?
Other than Janet, that's all I know. Didn't hear from Brad, didn't hear from Kelsey.
Okay. Well,
So-
I've got 6 o'clock. Let's go.
Let's rock and roll. Love it.
We appear to have some people that I wouldn't normally know. Janet and Mark. Sean, I know, so he's not a stranger to me.
No,
Janet, can
Julie and Mark.
Oh,
I know
Julie.
Mark,
sorry.
yeah, Mark is, well, I'll let you guys, Mark, if you want to introduce yourself, and Julie.
Sure, I can start. My name is Mark Bohm. I'm a distribution engineer with Madison Gas and Electric. And we want to kind of discuss the ramifications of some of the road acquisition and how that affects our pole line and things like that with respect to the Pleasant View Golf Course. And the road acquisition is for the rebuilding of Pleasant View Road between Highway 14 and I guess Timber Lane, or I guess Sean can give a better description of that also. But I'm with MG&E. Thank you.
Julie.
Hi. Hello, I'm Julie Hansen. I'm from American Transmission Company, and I'm in the real estate and right-of-way department. I'm here to talk about the Pleasant View Road move, and here to answer any questions you may have after we've talked about the agenda items. So
Okay, so we'll move through. Well, we won't move through anything. We'll get there pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was strategic. A lot of strategery there.
Yeah, strategery, Jeremy. Good job.
Strategery, boy, we're right on it tonight. Approval of minutes from the November 22nd meeting. Does anyone have any corrections or changes they want to see? Additions, etc.? Not hearing any, I have one. Item 7. general fund TID 3 repayment plan. Last paragraph, last sentence. Once all debt has been eliminated, the committee is willing to renegotiate its pilot program. We don't currently have a pilot program. That should be negotiate, not renegotiate.
Yeah, that's coming from you guys. You all literally said that.
Well, we said it wrong.
So if you read before, right, the committee had another lengthy discussion on a potential pilot program for the golf course, right? So
Right.
I suppose if I wanted to add to renegotiate its potential pilot program, I mean, that's fine. I think we're mincing words there. But you all literally said that. I reread or rewatched the entire thing, and that's coming from you all. So
Well, we made a mistake. Hi, Kelsey.
what would you like me to change?
Well, we can't renegotiate something we don't have. So the word that should be there is negotiate.
Is what?
Negotiate.
Yeah, but that's so, okay, maybe there's a disconnect here because beginning of the sentence or beginning of the paragraph, right, of a potential program, right? So if we recall, it was a pilot program under the assumption that we can pay down the debt and pay off and fund its capital expenditures. We
Right.
would do the following. Then once debt is over, we would then renegotiate the pilot program.
But we don't have a pilot program,
I understand.
so we cannot renegotiate it.
What would you like me to say, Tom? If you could type it up in an email, I'll put it exactly how you want me to say it.
Once all debt has been eliminated, the committee is willing to negotiate its pilot program.
Yeah, but that's not correct because we are looking at potentially adding a pilot program in 2023.
Which
per our
means we
discussion.
will then sit down to negotiate it, not renegotiate it.
We are going to renegotiate. Okay, so we are going
Please
to
do something again.
We're going to renegotiate the pilot program that was already in place in 2023. We're not going to continue only paying 200 grand or whatever the number is for pilot after debt's gone. We're going to renegotiate the program.
We don't have a program, Jeremy.
I know that. But we're going to potentially in 1 year, and then we're going to renegotiate it in 2026 or 2027 whenever we're out of debt.
If we start one in 2020, whatever, we will at that point be negotiating what it is. If we've seen the options, we know what we have a preference for. We even said as much. But at that point, until we decide and agree that that's what we really want to do, and the city agrees, we don't have a program.
I'm just going to eliminate that sentence.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it matter to what we're trying to get across?
It 100% doesn't matter, which is why it's
Okay.
more paperwork on my end.
It matters to
eliminate a
me
sentence.
that it implies we have a program, which we don't. I'm okay with losing the sentence, but I'm not okay with leaving the impression that we have already negotiated something.
You all were in favor of a pilot program beginning in 2023, which is
Yeah.
why I'm confused.
But
I
that's,
mean,
a-
it's like, yeah.
I think what Tom is getting at is that currently there's no program that exists. Whether we develop a program for 23 or not has not been established.
I understand that.
So just take it out and be
I'm
done.
just going
Yeah.
to take out the sentence. Again, I think it's a lot of paperwork for mincing words, in my opinion, but I will do it. I will take it out.
Any other changes, corrections?
No.
Someone please move acceptance of the now altered minutes.
No, don't. I got to resubmit it. The minutes are not approved. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
resubmit it.
All right,
I need a motion.
somebody
Actually,
move, somebody
you
move.
can- So I will move to accept the minutes as corrected.
I like that.
Second,
Who seconded?
me,
Dennis did.
Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Carries. Okay. Agenda item number 1. MG&E, ATC, and electricity and poles. We've seen the documentation. We have, I believe that we probably have a preference on routing. Has there been a decision from outside this committee that we need to have a conversation about? Somebody walk us through what's going on here.
So,
MG&E needs to move their poles.
yeah, long story short, if you look at it's labeled option 1, ATC
Can you
pole
share
shed.
that, please, Jeremy? The city did not put the documents on the website.
Okay. Hold up. Bear with me.
Otherwise, if it'd be helpful, Jeremy, I have them handy.
I'm like literally, I'm right there.
Oh, then it would not be handy.
Yeah.
I could turn this screen at that screen. If you could.
Okay, got them both loaded up. Give me a sec.
That second option takes a while to load, Jeremy.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so long story short, this and Sean, by all means, or Mark, if Julie, if there's anything that I'm saying wrong, but I'll fly through this. This red line is the essentially the existing ATC MG&E line, or whatever lines there are, right? And when they've got to build the road and relocate some of these poles, they were coming too close into contact, essentially, to be safe for them to keep the power running through those lines. And so they've got to switch the power off, and it would be for weeks. I mean, we're talking, about 2 to 4 weeks from my understanding, okay? And so what they've determined is, all right, rather than shutting power off, which obviously would not bode well for our golf course or the surrounding neighborhoods, they were an option of moving the lines. Instead of essentially being really close to the red line, it would be to this blue line, which is 30 feet further to the west. The trouble with that is obviously that encroaches on the golf course even more, and so there would be visual issues with golfers, and then there would be berming issues where we wouldn't be able to berm how we want to with Kevin Norby's design to essentially create a buffer between Pleasant View Golf Course and Pleasant View Road. So there's a number of negative factors that are involved with moving the poles 30 feet to the west. So then think of this as option 1, right? Then option 2 would be that we would reroute the power from Blackhawk. And by doing this, we would essentially drill in or bore into the golf course on a path that Mark and I would figure out to the best of our abilities and tie into the pump house, all right? Then that pump house, which is already tied into our clubhouse, can feed or that line can feed our golf course or our clubhouse, excuse me, and our maintenance facility. I think it was the maintenance facility was the big one. Also, it would continue allowing these surrounding neighborhoods to receive power from MG&E, is my understanding. Sean, is that accurate, or Mark?
think that's the fair way to say it, right? The clubhouse would still have power, but the maintenance shed and apartments and little subdivisions as pointed there would not, if that line had to be de-energized along Pleasant View Road.
And our
Correct.
pump house is currently getting power from this red line here. And what Mark from MG&E was saying is that line was dug in maybe 06 or something like that. And it's not a matter of if this line fails, it's a matter of when. And should we go with option 2 and tie in from Black Hawk Road, that would be essentially a safety net if this line ever fails us. So there's an added benefit to that as well. So option 2 is a benefit from a safety net. We do not have to relocate the lines 30 feet further to the west off of Pleasant View Road. And then we can help out our surrounding neighborhood as well, from my understanding.
And is this a temporary thing, or are they going to take those poles on Pleasant View down?
The
Julie or
poles on
Mark?
Pleasant View are doing two things. They're working for ATC, but MG&E is also on those poles under ATC's wires. So those poles still have to be along Pleasant View Road, where that red line is, basically. It's just that the planned move would put those poles, I'll say, close to the bike path, the proposed bike path. But again, that problem with keeping MG&E energized while the poles are being moved, it wouldn't be able to stay near the bike path. It would have to go another, basically 30 feet west. And that's where, you know, that would be a long-term implication with above ground facilities. So
Post-construction, where is that line going to be? Where the red line is or where the blue line is?
let me
Well,
bring up a
yeah.
different graphic, actually, because this is the one that goes the extra 30 feet. Or do you have that handy, Jeremy?
I do not.
The one that was called like,
This
you
is the
give me
extra
perm-
30 feet right here.
Yeah,
that's the extra 30 feet.
Yeah,
Mark's
the
asking,
other,
what
the
would
other
it
line,
look like?
Mark, is from my understanding right next to it.
Right,
It goes in
the
and
red
out a bit.
line, right, the red line is our existing alignment. And the blue line is showing where it would be located when we move it for the road move project. The
Well,
other
but Julie,
route, oh, sorry.
Isn't that blue line the new option to,
Yes,
right? The old option of relocating, wasn't it really close to the red line?
it is. Yes, it hugs the road right away and the bike paths, walking paths.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm confused too. What I heard was that the blue line was not going to happen if you rerouted it the other way.
That's correct.
With
That's
option 2.
correct. Right.
Well,
Right. What we don't have up is our first alignment where we're relocating. That's what we're not looking at right now. This is just the proposed that we would move our line to this location to keep MG&E energized if they were allowed to stay in the first option. Is that,
Okay,
Mark,
Julie.
is that your
Yeah,
understanding?
so the line that ATC originally proposed, which then had the constructability and safety concerns, is closer to the red line than what the blue line was. It's not exactly where it is, but it's much closer to the curb line. Most of the poles are between the multi-use path and the curb. However, without MG&E getting a tie, we would add significant outages to the customers along Black Hawk Drive in those apartments on the corner there. So if we went with the easement to make the tie through the middle of the golf course, then we could move the alignment back closer to where the red line is, which would be about 30. It'd basically be on the other side of the bike path is what we were looking at. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if anybody has that drawing.
So regardless, this red line, which is existing, is going to have to be moved.
Correct. Yes, where some of the red lines are, the poles are actually in either the path or in the roundabout there where in that middle, that 38, that
Right.
pole is actually in the curb line.
Right.
So it can't stay there. So it has to get shifted a little bit west. It's just depending on where we go, whether we go all the way to the blue line or if we stay closer to the curb. In order to facilitate staying closer to the curb, we would have to make that permanent tie across the golf course that Jeremy had showed there for just a little while. That does have an added benefit, as Jeremy had mentioned. This cable was installed in 2006. It has a expected 35 to 50-year lifespan, average of about 40. So it will fail at some point, but not tomorrow, hopefully, knock on wood, by any stretch of the imagination. Whereas if we do get this tie in, then that would always give two sources. And then we would also rebuild underneath ATC's line, so that would give us the two sources, one through the middle of the golf course and one along Pleasant View Road. Without getting too geeky, just a way of thinking about it is, if you think of electricity either as a tree branch, where it kind of starts from the generation and goes out to the branches, or you can think of it as kind of like a bicycle with spokes in it, and you make the ties around the outside. So this is an unfortunate location because the MG&E and Alliant Energy Service territories are basically against each other here along Blackhawk and along Pleasant View. So normally in an urban area, you have more of the tire and the spoke type of an arrangement where you have ties, so that if we lose a line from one direction, we can energize it from the other direction. But because of this being on kind of the edge of the territory, it's more like a tree branch. And if the tree branch breaks, then you don't have a tie. So what we're trying to do here with that golf course tie would be to make it more like a spoke in a tire where you have the ties around the outer rim, if that makes sense.
So I think I understand the tie, both the need for the tie. It does mean we end up providing an easement within the golf course for any future issues with that. But what I don't know is how far the red line is going to move west. We're making it possible to avoid the outages, and we're saving I'm going to call it invasion of poles onto the golf course by allowing the tie. But it sounds to me like we're still going to have invasion of poles.
We will
Really
still
close.
have poles. Yeah, we will still have poles, just not 30 to 40 feet as shown right now. It would,
No, but if it turns out to be 29 feet, that's no deal either.
yeah, it won't be. I'm trying to find the drawing, the original alignment drawing here to share with you.
I'm willing to wait.
Hopefully that'll give you an idea of where those are located. If you want to give me a second, I've
Yes,
been
I-
trying to look for them.
I
mean, I have a
actually
dumb-
have that handy, Julie, but Jeremy, if you'd have to stop sharing to allow me to share, I think.
John, do you want to shoot me an email?
Could
Just let him
Should
stop
I just
sharing.
stop sharing?
Yes.
try that first once.
Okay.
I will see if I can start.
While he does that, why would we ever not recommend option 2?
Yeah.
I don't think we would ever not recommend it.
Okay, so then how do we need to go through it all?
Well, yeah, my squabble is going to be the red line. I don't see another opportunity here to talk to ATC about the red line.
Right, so it's variable. So now this would be the base plan, right? If you allow MG&E to drill out to Blackhawk Road, then the blue line would be proposed. The red line is still existing, but instead of the blue line being, and it's variable, but for the most part, hugging the path instead of out toward the course side of the path. And I zoomed in a bit. I hope that helps with clarity, but I'll try panning along here a little bit too. Move a few things off my screen.
So that looks a lot to me like it's a lot less than 30 feet.
As you get down toward Greenway Boulevard, they're
Right.
almost in the same place.
And that's post-construction.
The blue one is post-construction, correct?
And
So you
that's,
can
that's,
see, pole 38 is in a curb line, but when it comes over next to the path, the alignment doesn't change much, but the pole position changes a little bit.
So 38 and 39 are currently at their maximum distance.
Oh, for spacing, I'm
Yeah,
going to
'cause
quickly answer that.
yes, yes, they
I-
are. Between 38 and 39, it's almost a 400-foot span, which is ideally 38 would be further to the south where the red pole is, but due to the roundabout. So yes, the software that ATC uses and their consultant, that's the maximum span distance. So that's why they're not evenly spread, just because we can't avoid the curb and try to keep 37 and 39 on the other side of the path.
Maybe they should
And-
use the same software you do. Because blue 38 and blue 39 strike me as substantially wider apart than red 38 and red 39.
Yeah,
So there's-
they've stretched it to the maximum distance they can. So it'd be preferable, I think, on ATC and MGE's part to have 38 blue closer to where 38 red is, but just with the road design, there's no space there.
Is there a view going west here, the last piece of this?
Further south, we'll get into, by the time we're down near the apartments here, then you see the line starting to deviate a little bit again.
Okay. All right, can someone help me with the line from ATC to the clubhouse? And then there's a line from the clubhouse to the pump shack. And explain how coming in from Blackhawk Road is going to solve a failure from the ATC line to the pump house.
Sure, I can try to explain that.
Yeah, I'll
So-
let you go, Mark.
So right now, if you look kind of in the upper right-hand corner where Pleasant View, kind of just north of where the driveway is, right now, the power basically flows to the south from that corner and to the west. So the normal power flow is that way, and then it cuts down into the clubhouse and then eventually gets to the pond. It also continues west towards it goes actually out to the substation eventually is where it goes, which is about 2 miles west of Middleton, something like that. So then the other line that comes down Pleasant View Road comes down Pleasant View to the corner at Blackhawk Drive, where we serve that building on the corner. And then we serve that small section of the Blackhawk neighborhood that Sean's on right now there. We serve off of Blackhawk Drive, and then it continues west on Blackhawk Drive to pick up those 7 or 8 houses. I'm not familiar right now with the name of that little cul-de-sac is there. And that's the only route in there. There's no tie because that's kind of the south boundary of MGE's Alliance service territory. So that's where that is a tree branch. And if you think of the branch coming off of like the top of the golf course at the top of the hill, that's just a dead end branch right now. So we'd like to do is get this tie in there, at which time we would have the tie down to Blackhawk Drive. And we would always, that would be a permanent tie. That was a question that was mentioned earlier. It wouldn't be temporary. So we would have that tie in there. And then once the ATC line is moved, it would be a radial for a while. It would be the tree branch kind of idea coming past the clubhouse until the ATC line gets rebuilt. MGE can move our facilities over on Pleasant View Road, at which time then we would put that loop back on Pleasant View Road. So then we would have 2 feeds into the neighborhood. Now the cul-de-sac, the people at the end are still going to be on the end of a tree branch, but everybody from like the maintenance shed, the corner and stuff like that would have 2 feeds. So it's, but to get the very end of that, at some point, it's just economically a trade-off versus trying to get infrastructure to try to tie those last houses. Sometimes We do the best we can. So out of the 200 and some customers here, we're going to tie about 193 of them. We're just going to kind of not be able to tie those last 7 customers.
So what I hear then is basically the cable from the top of the ridge there to the pump house is not, you're not expecting that to fail. You're expecting the other line to fail.
It will fail. All cables, as soon as we put them in, they are starting to degrade themselves. There is a life expectancy to that cable. So at some point in the future, it will fail. It was installed in 2006. The life expectancy is anywhere between 35 and 50 years per the manufacturers. So at some point it will fail. Hopefully it's not while in the middle of winter or in the middle of summer, in the middle of Gulf season in a drought where you need to fix it. But by having this yellow cable in, whichever route we choose, if and when that cable between the clubhouse and the pump shack fails, then we would just re-energize it from Black Hawk Road. And the outage would be a 2 or 3 hour outage, just the time to get a crew on site, hook it back up versus having to, in the middle of the Gulf season, dig across the course or dig up where the failure occurred.
Okay, I guess if that line fails, how are you going to be able to re-energize it?
So
Because-
does that, I mean, like ultimately, does it matter for us? I mean, if there's a safety fail, that's great. That's just an added benefit. I don't think that's the main point of concern right now. The main point of concern is ensuring that we don't move the lines 30 feet further west on Pleasant View Road.
I get that, but this is about redundancy here, right? What they're
Correct.
trying to tell us is redundancy, and I'm trying to understand the redundancy. And I'm just what I'm hearing is that if the line fails, it's because it deteriorates and essentially you have a break in the line. So then how would you repair that by
They
charging?
wouldn't. In
Pardon?
this case, Mark, they wouldn't. It's not a
we would have,
redundancy issue.
we
It's an
would,
alternate routing issue.
we would eventually fix it. So
Oh, long run.
we would know the cable fails. It's MG&E's responsibility. It's for the way we like to design the system with a loop feed to everybody so that our customers, our reliability is where our customers expect it to be. But we wouldn't have to fix it on August 19th at 3 p.m. What we would do is
It can be on our terms. It can be like Mark and I have a conversation. Hey, when's the best time to do this?
Okay.
Okay, my issue is incursion from ATC. It's not the yellow line. So I think this is informational only, right?
No, we need action on this, guys. So they're taking this to council tomorrow night. And by the way, the yellow line would be Mark they're wanting to do this essentially in February or March at the latest. They cannot go later, and we don't want them to go later. So this would be something that's done within the next 2 to 3 months.
What about the green line? Is
The
that
green
another
line was
option?
it's just another route that they just.
Another routing option?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, Mark and I would go through this and ensure that there's little to no disruption with the golf course.
Right, so
I
this is now
understand
the
why.
idea for an easement, even though MG&E would end up drawing up an easement after talking with Jeremy and Kevin out at the course to figure out a route first, so they could survey it in and get an alignment for an easement.
And how much control do we have over that, Sean?
I think
100% your agreement. Wherever Jeremy says this is the route he wants, that's what we'll build.
yeah. So
And
it's
it's
going to
built
take
at
some
your
walking
cost?
around.
And
It's
they're
built
both
at
1,800
MG&E's
feet.
cost.
No, the green line's 1,300 feet. That must be a lot less expensive.
Well, that's part of what I'm getting at.
So MG&E is not charging Pleasant View for this tie. This is a benefit to MG&E's customers, including yourselves. The 1,300 feet is kind of more of a as the crow flies. I'm not a golf course expert. That's where I'm going to leave it to Jeremy and his staff to tell me what the best route is. The 1,800 feet is kind of a worst case maybe scenario, maybe, but basically what I did there was I followed the golf cart paths, thinking that, if I'm going to be out here, where can I access with machinery and cause the least amount of disruption and the least amount of work on Jeremy's part to get the course looking like it's supposed to.
Okay,
This isn't inexpensive. MG&E's looking at between $120,000 and $150,000 to install this tie. So this is not inconsequential dollars, but in order to facilitate the underbuild and the ATC line that we have, the way we're currently configured, it's a cost of doing business for MG&E. We can't have the line out of service. We would basically for 2 weeks every day during the day while ATC's contractors working on it, everybody along Blackhawk Drive would be out of power for like 2 weeks. And that's not an acceptable type situation. And we just, because of the Alliant MG&E service boundary here, we just don't have a lot of other options. So it's either we put this tie in or the ATC line moves further west, which you guys have expressed opinions on that also.
I think the tie is going in. What do we have to do to make it happen?
I think if the committee could recommend to the council to approve the idea for an easement with MG&E, MG&E will come back with the actual easement for the council. But first we needed that issue to get settled. Are we going to move the other poles west, or are we going to do this instead?
Yeah.
Oh, we're
So
clearly
I would
gonna
move
do
that we
the tie.
approve conceptual approval of option 2 here.
I'd like to hear
I
a second.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Julie, Sean, Mark, thank you. Oh, Julie, before you leave, I have one question for you, and Mark too. Kelsey, just, block your ears. I know I'm taking up more of your night. You guys never put particularly your 345K lines in concrete encased conduit. Why do you keep building these big pole systems?
Well, usually that comes with a cost. The line that is adjacent to Pleasant View Road is a double circuit line. It's 138,000 volts on one side and 69,000 volts on the other side. In this case, it just really comes down to cost. And that's usually typically passed on to the ratepayer. So when you're talking, an overhead line versus an underground line, it's a millions of dollars of difference when it's these voltages. So it just comes down to cost in this case.
Well, I knew it would get to cost, but somehow lines coming down under tree limbs and things like that, and losses, that's not cheap either. I don't want to have a discussion about this, but I did want to ask that question. So I want to thank you all for being here. I think you helped explain this well, and we're moving forward.
So
So
Sean's
thank
feel free to
you.
hang around for the rest of a boring meeting.
Sean's going to stay around, right? Because Sean's got the next item.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around
Thank
for
you.
the Pleasant
Have a nice
View Road
evening.
stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Aye.
Julie. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Approval of the resolution.
So,
For interesting reading.
yeah, so long story short, this is essentially the transfer of funds for the land that's being acquired due to the easements, right? And you knew this number from last time. The number that Sean did do a brief estimate of what the assessment would be. So if and this is the argument, if we're wanting to be treated like an enterprise fund or essentially like a private owner to some degree, then we need to be assessed by a private owner. And this number is not 100% accurate, but he did come up with the calculations on how things are divided out, which We're not going to share at this current time just due to the accuracy, but it does fall in. We would be assessed around $110,000 with the idea that there could be change to that, give or take up or down. So we would net in the positive, approximately $90,000 to $100,000.
It doesn't strike me as being much of an argument.
Yeah,
Well,
Sean, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I know the council endorsed following Madison's assessment methodology, and unfortunately, they do things wildly differently than we do. So I've had some conversation, and I'm still trying to pin down some details of what goes into the background of their calculations, and I don't have it all yet, but I think we're pretty close at the 100 to 120 range, I think. But I fear I could be off, so I didn't want to write that down anyplace. The 206 came from our appraiser, so I don't know much about that number either, but
Does Madison appraise higher?
they use their own real estate service, so I can't even say that the same people did it. We hired Core to do ours.
All right.
Real estate stuff.
Mark, I see you wanting to say something.
no, everyone needs to understand though that the golf fund will never see the net here.
Right.
It'd be a
will-
reduction of whatever we owe, correct, Mark?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know, curious, and maybe this is a better conversation for number, whatever, would that transfer funds occur this year?
No, it would occur when the actual transactions take place.
Do we know when that is?
The real estate part should take place soon, I think, right? The 206-4 should be done so that we can sign a piece of paper with WISDOT that says we have real estate concluded. Assessments don't happen till after the project, typically.
So Mark, that actually helps us out a lot with the plan.
I don't think that's on the council tomorrow. I could be wrong. I don't remember it being on the council agenda for tomorrow.
Well, maybe not the transfer, but that's what this resolution's intended to do, is make a transfer of the $206,000 so that we can sign that piece of paper for WISDOT.
That's fine, but everyone, we're just gonna get netted against it for the assessment. That's all it really is.
Yeah. I think we all understood that.
Well, I was hoping that it would end up being a positive netting as opposed to a loss, which is my concern, I didn't want to have the city give us a lowball offer for the land and then give us a double whammy with a high assessment.
I'm still worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not here to say it can't, but I don't think that would be in the right ballpark from what I'm
Yep.
seeing.
Okay.
We
Well, then I'll
need
move.
approval because this is on the agenda tomorrow night.
So motion to approve.
Motion to approve the resolution.
The resolution, yeah.
Is that sufficient?
Second.
Yeah,
Second came from
Dennis?
Dennis. I always forget to do this. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're done with that one.
Sweet, great, thank you.
Thanks,
And then finally, so moving on to number 3, is just a quick update. And Sean, do you by chance have that 90% plan on your screen still? Is that still?
I do. Do you want me to bring it up?
Would you mind?
I don't mind at all.
But folks, while he's bringing that up, there's a review meeting on January 11th for these plans that Sean's going to show us. They're going to submit submittal of plans by Strand, specs and estimates to WISDOT for their final review on January 25th. In February, final plans and spec estimates will be ready for bid. And then in May, WISDOT, essentially their let date moved to, I believe, to 510 is, yeah. So it's gonna start happening pretty quick here, with potential beginning of road work stage 1, which we discussed a couple meetings ago, was just preliminary construction, mid to late June.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and remember that construction shouldn't have really any effect on Pleasant View Golf Course, because it's mainly happening on the east side of Pleasant View Road.
Well, it's mainly on the east side of Pleasant View Road, but the two ponds, so the pond near Greenway and then the pond south of the driveway, those have to get built as part of phase 1.
Okay,
So the pond building's happening, but then it won't be until next year that we start getting into the mass grading to drop off extra earth for shaping of the berms, that sort of thing.
okay. So
And
what
that
do
we
we,
had talked about has to happen before, oh golly, it was earlier mid-July of 23.
so what are we looking at here, Sean?
So we'll have a mostly clean year, Sean, that's what you're saying?
Well, mostly, right? So they'll have to duck in for a pond near Greenway and
Yeah,
this black glob here, it's just a bunch of really close contour lines, so it's a pond also. And there's a little bit of clearing for temporary widening, kind of along the road edge, if you will, from, well,
Mhm.
basically from where that little driveway up to the cell tower is all the way
Oh.
down to Blackhawk.
Okay.
That sort of cross hatching is just some temporary road widening that has to take place. The lion's share of what's actually going on is lowering the hill and starting to get into rock excavation along PPD. If that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's a lot of work on the east side trying to get that rock lowered.
Sean, when are they going to take down the apex of the hill by the cell tower?
That won't happen until I think it's stages 2 and 3. It all has to kind of take place in pieces, because one of the big things is we're trying to figure out how to keep 2 lanes of traffic open while doing it.
Yeah.
So that's why we needed to get a jump on getting some stuff done on the east side first, so that we have a little room to route cars over, so that we can start taking down the hill on the west side.
Are we blasting that or just mechanical?
Well, we don't know yet, but we do think that there will likely be some blasting.
oh boy, the people.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
yeah, well,
You got to get a bill for quarter or hourly recalibrations.
yeah, we've been talking with them some, and they're doing what they can to work with us, including thinking about even moving some equipment to a different building while this is
Wow.
taking place.
Hey, Sean, with the blasting, how far away can people be within code? Public.
Oh, golly. I don't know that there's any code distance requirement to that. It's really that the contractor has to figure out what kind of rock they're in and how deep they are and what sort of charge they put in to keep shrapnel down.
Okay.
Because they're responsible for any damage to, passing cars or.
Oh, sure. They're going to do it while car. Okay, because we are going to have public. So if you go back to the cell tower location,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then if you move your hand just up and to the left a little bit, kind of, yeah, a little bit more just up. There's golfers right in that area.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And we know there's pedestrians still crossing here too. So.
Okay.
um,
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeremy knows too. He sees walkers all the time.
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Great.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be time of day driven a little bit, and they're in charge of all that safety because their insurance company's in charge of all the bad that can come with it.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we're getting started, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Feels like it's time. Yeah.
It's time. It needs to happen. All right. Okay, that's all I really had for the update. And then, the other update is Kevin Norby is going to start conceptual design, or not conceptual designs, design work for Pleasant View Road changes, essentially on Monday, January 3rd. So, he's going to start going to work for us pretty soon here. And then on the, this really isn't tied to Pleasant View Road, but the conceptual changes that we were talking about a couple meetings ago, he's going to start to work on that as well. So
Great.
All right.
Sean, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Truly appreciate it.
I think this is my first golf committee meeting, so
Oh,
I think it
welcome.
is too.
good to
Yeah.
see you.
Welcome here, Sean.
Well, hey, Sean, I will be on the call tomorrow night. So if there's anything
Okay.
that you need, I might just be on mute with no video. But if you need me, just holler and I'll jump on. So
Sure, sounds great.
just in case. But all right, thanks again, Sean. Have a great Christmas if I don't talk to you.
Thank you. You too.
All right, where are we at now? So we are on.
Number 4.
Oh, okay. Yep. Hopefully you all were able to see the financials. One quick note on the financials, there weren't a ton of November expenses because the way that our credit card statements work, they weren't inputted into the system quite on time. So November expenses aren't exactly accurate due to credit card expenses not being in there.
So the revenue numbers are off too then?
No, revenue numbers are correct. It was just credit card. Mainly if you look at like the maintenance expenses, and then maybe it was mainly maintenance and maybe food and beverage. I can't quite remember, Tom, but off the top of my head, but there's just a couple expense categories that we're missing.
You know, when I was kind of looking through it, in the maintenance area, line 178, you have a line item for a security system,
Yeah.
and we don't seem to spend any money for that.
Yeah, so we kind of move the funds to really there's a line item above so that because rather than getting multiple bills, I'm like, I just want to pay this in one full swoop. So we pay it with the clubhouse expenses as well.
Oh, okay.
So if you go up, where is it? It's under clubhouse expense. There's security system. So
Okay.
it's
I
just
was
one bill
concerned.
instead of getting. It's just one bill instead of getting two bills, and I know
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's good.
Well, that's fine. I was just, my concern, Jeremy, was that we no longer had a security system around the maintenance buildings.
Oh no, we definitely do.
Yeah, I was pretty sure we did, but all right. Well, the numbers certainly look good.
So
You made money and kept expenses down.
are there any other questions on, well, speaking of expenses, so I did just submit the golf cars. We are getting, charged for golf cars. We're getting charged not the new lease rate, but the old lease rate. So what I negotiated was we're getting charged for 78 golf cars think of it as at the previous lease rate instead of the current, what we should have been charged. And so we got essentially to use 20 golf cars for free over the course of 2021. But the new lease rate will commence, obviously in this coming season, because we finally have the new golf cars.
Good.
So just an FYI. So we got like roughly a 20% discount on it, which I thought was very fair.
Yeah.
So is the golf course completely shut down now?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, so another note. Full support of cross-country skiing. I think you guys know that, but I do want you to make sure that we all understand that there is a massive amount of work that goes into getting prepared for cross-country skiing. Our staff spent roughly $600 in materials, and countless hours over it was like maybe a week and a half ago of roping off all of our sensitive areas, all the greens, tee markers, tees that we don't want cross-country skiers to go off of, ponds, countless hours. And we did not open last week because we spent countless hours preparing for cross-country skiing. And I want to make sure that we all are aware that there is a cost associated with having cross-country skiing on our golf course. I'm not suggesting anything, but we did not open because of the cross-country skiing preparation.
Could you have
Been-
opened to play golf?
Open what?
Well,
To
you
play
opened
golf.
you opened on Tuesday and Wednesday for the pass holders.
And
That's a
that's a
key-
zero revenue operation.
Yeah.
Very key difference, Dennis. Very key difference is pass
No
holders
revenue.
and public, right?
Right.
Yes.
We did open for the pass holders because we said, don't take the ropes down, don't do this, make sure you do that, right? They were able to play within our parameters. If we open to the general public, that just wouldn't have happened,
Mhm.
right? And on Tuesday and Wednesday, there was a definite loss of potential revenue because of that. So it just,
Where
again,
does the $600 come from?
our budget, which, yeah,
Should it?
debatable. But I personally don't think so, but honestly, Kelsey, it's not worth the battle.
Okay.
Jeremy, next year, or maybe this spring, keep track of the number of man hours, people hours spent taking all that stuff down and restoring it.
It's roughly 80 a season.
80 person hours.
So 80 putting it up and 80 taking it down. Not maybe 60 taking it down.
At what rate?
I mean, Kevin Hurd, you could argue at a very, very expensive rate because we don't have LTEs that do it, right?
Well, but I'd like to see that number next spring.
Well,
And
it's
it's not that
$1,000,
we'll do anything with it, but who knows?
it's $1,000, $800,
Oh,
$1,000.
it's easy, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we have, if we get overrun by skiers because the center's now open,
Well, look, and I'm not trying to make this about bashing the skiers at all. I want everybody to be aware that what Pleasant View Golf Course does for the ski trails. And
and that's
That's
exactly
all.
why I'm asking you to just in your spare time, which I know you have none of, calculate that number.
it's 80, I already did. Well, we did this last year, 80 hours, putting it up, roughly 60 hours, taking it down. It's not exact, but it's approximate.
Okay.
Times, you name the rate. Kevin Hurd, I don't know, 40 some bucks an hour, But again, that's a little ridiculous, right?
Well, no, actually, it's not. Because
No.
you've got other stuff Kevin could have been doing.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, but anyway,
So, like if we paid an LTE after FICA or something like that, it'd be, probably $1,500.
Okay.
To put it up, right? And then to take it down would be a little bit less, maybe $1,000.
so 2,500 is the cheapest labor rate you can think of.
Mhm.
And it's a community gift.
That's correct, which I think it's important that people know that, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, something to just keep in mind when you need a little, yeah, but by the way,
exactly.
all right. Other comments or
So-
questions?
Yeah, no, so any questions on the financials through November? And then obviously, as soon as I get the rest, I'll send it your way if we don't have a meeting in January, but any questions on that?
Not
All
for
right,
me.
I do want to talk about one thing, and that was the cash flow or the debt projection scenario, right? So maybe it'll be easier if I open it up and share. Bear with me. Okay. Where are we at? Zoom. All right. So obviously, here's 2021, right? And Mark, feel free to chime in here, but Bill, Mark and I had kind of an email thread going a little bit of what we should or shouldn't do. And it sounds like Bill and Mark don't see any negative reason to pay off the general fund this year in full.
This calendar year?
Correct. Yep. Correct.
Okay. All right.
This number here is our current receipts from customers. And this number here was the budgeted operating expense. So you can see, you know, based on budget and based on what actual budget expenses, gross receipts, we're going to fall somewhere in that 1.6 million net range, right? Then we pay down 1.549 million to the general fund, and we have 300,000 that we're spending for capital expenses, which would put us in the hole technically $158,000. We would then pull that from our reserve fund, okay, which is sitting at 1.2, which will leave us over $1 million in capital reserve fund, which is still roughly double our projected amount when we first established this game plan. Now, hearing what we heard in regards to the real estate acquisition, this could potentially be a positive $100,000, or we start paying down TID 3. But yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. But that's the game plan. Mark, am I missing anything?
No, you have it, but just don't forget, there's also, we said we would take the 2 solar projects out of that capital reserve.
That's correct.
Out
Yep.
of that
But
$1
that would affect this over here, Mark.
million.
That's 2022.
What are you saying? It's the 45 grand?
That's happening in this column.
The capital funded from reserves, the 45, that's the extent of the solar projects?
Yeah, it's happening over here though, right? So we're going to bring over, we're going to have $1 million in the start of 2022. By my budget expectations, you know, we're looking at a net increase in capital reserve of 465, which would well cover the solar.
Yeah, what I'm suggesting is that on line 17, the capital funded from reserves, is that the solar project?
Oh, this is right here. Yep.
So what's in 2024?
Maintenance building.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think you're good.
The
Well,
only
you're-
thought
you're
that,
good, except I don't remember projects.
I'm sorry, Tom, you broke up. I couldn't hear you.
Solar projects?
Yeah, for the roof, clubhouse.
Clubhouse
Yep.
roof.
Yep.
Clubhouse and also the maintenance shack are going to get solar panels because it's the year of climate change.
I remember we talked about that. I don't remember saying we were going to do it, but apparently we did.
Yep, we did.
Oh,
But hang tight.
No, that's all right. I believe you.
The agreement was that we would pay for those out of the reserve as opposed to the 300,000 annual from operations, basically.
All right.
Instead of funding it from operations, it would come out of the capital reserve.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Right there.
No, you haven't switched over. It's
Oh.
Financials.
Oh.
All right.
Right there.
Okay.
And then they were thinking that we were getting roughly $10,000 in grants, and then 45 would come from the reserve.
I thought, so that's just the clubhouse, isn't the other? I thought they had agreed that they're going to do both.
Mark, I don't know that answer, to be honest. I was just specifying the clubhouse. If they can do both, that's fine. I suppose we could do a special assessment or special request, you know.
Kelly was supposed to get quotes on the maintenance shed as well as the clubhouse.
Maintenance shed's gonna be pretty Oh, I do remember the maintenance shed conversation, but maintenance shed's gonna be certainly more difficult. It's not quite as exposed, but I think that we're gonna look into that regardless.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so stay tuned on that. I do know that the clubhouse and LED light exchange is on track to happen for 2022.
Okay.
But then now I do want to show you one other thing though. I think, right, what I would like and this is wishful thinking, and I know a lot can change, right? But what I would like this committee to potentially plan for is, if we're hopefully going to net right around that $500,000 mark for 2022, I would love to eliminate that year of debt payment by adding this number over here.
Yeah, and before you do that, I think the golf course needs to get its head around having to pay pilot for 2023.
Totally agree. Well, so Mark, that's what I mean is we are not paying pilot here,
Right.
but we
So
are
what
looking
I'm
at paying
suggesting is
pilot
that
here.
at 148 grand, that's pretty tight. So maybe the thing to do is not advance those payments until you get a year or two of pilot under your belts, right? And
Yep.
let that draw down, right? So we talked about a sequencing of this where the first priority would be to pay TIF 5 or TIF 3.
Agreed.
The second priority would be the capital program for the golf course. And then the third priority would possibly be paying pilot, right? So I think the concern that we should have is that for 23 and 24 with Pleasant View Road construction, so 22 to 24, we should be in a position where you're trying to preserve as much capital as possible in case there are down years in there, right? If you come out of 24 with a big balance, then by all means, pay it off. But you should hold it for as long as you can until Pleasant View Road is completed and you have stabilized earnings.
Mark, I don't disagree at all. It's just wishful thinking. I'm just
Right.
letting you all know what's in my head, that's the internal goal, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. There's no need to push this if we don't have to. I do like that we're eliminating this general fund balance. I think that's great. Anyway, and I think it's really neat because remember, guys, we were here originally. Final payment.
Right, right. But if we're going to start paying pilot in 23, I'm not a huge fan of rapidly getting rid of the TID advancement. For me, that's a double whammy.
Which is what Mark was just saying, and what
Well,
I'm
yeah,
saying
but,
is,
I mean, the TID money is free money to us. Doesn't cost us anything to carry it out to the end of the term. And it'll be an interesting conversation. We'll
Yep.
have it when we get there, but
yep, I agree. I agree with your everybody's thinking.
okay. Anybody else in the committee comments or questions or argument? You guys are so quiet.
Hey, Mark, do you guys want a motion for approval of the
No.
paying down the general fund?
We already did that last week. You said
Yeah, we did.
at the timing of the finance director.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay, the time. Oh, that's right. The timing and method of the. That's right. Okay.
How it was done, yeah.
Okay.
So I will tell you this, Bill is going to bring this to finance committee in probably the second meeting in January after prelim numbers are in. I think that's either last in January, 1st in February, and we'll bring it up then. If it comes up, I would just, it's going to be it's a major milestone for us.
Right.
But so, and there's nobody else on this call, right? I would just make sure that whoever you guys talk to, sometimes Kevin comes on. Is it Kevin Murphy gets on these calls?
Nobody else is on the call, but
Yeah,
it is being recorded.
Yeah, well, I don't know that. Okay. Then never mind.
Do we have anything left today that we do need to vote on?
Nope.
My
You can-
child's gonna have a meltdown in about 5
Kelsey,
minutes.
you
Give him
can
fair
bug
warning.
out.
Yeah,
Hey,
and guys,
hey,
I
Mark.
need to go too. I have
Mark,
another
really-
meeting. Go ahead.
Hey, Mark, really quick, what is the number one benefit for us paying down the general fund?
It's all, to me, it's all about affirmation of our plan, and it's affirmation of our structure, affirmation of our operating decisions that we've made since 2014.
Is there a benefit to the city?
Of course,
There is, okay.
yes, right. It strengthens the city's general fund reserves and allows them to use the funds that we are transferring instead of essentially savings from the operating plans.
Okay. Okay, great.
I think you also have to realize that it's affirmation of the hope expressed with the original purchase years ago, that the golf course could in fact generate enough money to be a cash contributor to the city, and we're getting there even more rapidly than anybody expected.
Okay, very cool. Do we want set a next meeting?
Guys, I need to go. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
I
Yeah, we should set a January meeting, even if we cancel it.
I agree. The 24th, Martin Luther King Day is the 17th. I mean, I'm happy either one.
I'll be, oh, wait a minute. Okay, January, you said 24?
Either the
I'm-
17th or the 24th.
No, I can't do the 17th. I'm out of town.
Let's do the 24th.
Works for
Works
me.
for me. It's good.
Good.
Great.
Okay,
I know we
Thank
didn't
you,
talk about the
everybody.
capital reserve plan, but I think we're okay with that, right? There's nothing really to talk about right now.
I think we're good.
no, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Someone move adjournment, please.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I thought that'd be Kelsey for sure.
You left.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye, we're done. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you
everybody.
very much. Have a great holiday, rest of the holiday season, and
You as well.
I will hopefully see you all in about a month or so.
Sounds good.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Same to you guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.